Moving out of these rest table, the folks want to keep the conversation going.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call for the record, please. Mayor Lindsay,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Here.
Councillor Crane,
Here.
Councillor Weeks,
Here.
and Councillor Humbert.
Here.
We have a quorum. We proceed.
I appreciate everybody attending this evening, and we will stay after the meeting to continue the discussion that we had. We just want to get through this council meeting on time. So at this time, I would ask for the approval of the agenda with one modification. Item A under new business should read, discussion action approved to proceed with Go Bond Ordinance 25, Series 25 space 1/2025. If I could get a motion.
All right, I make a motion to approve the agenda with the change. Item A should read approved to proceed with Geo Bond Ordinance Series 25 space 1.20.25.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This time I would ask for an approval of the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't believe we had any requests or responses from the audience pertaining to anything outside of this agenda. So moving on to announcements and proclamations. But have anything that they would like to say before we proceed? If not, we'll move on to staff reports. I'm going to start this evening with Tourism Director Greg Ralph.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Esteemed council. Got a quick tourism director update to give everybody. The first thing I'll cover is our advertising performance in January. As everybody knows, we started in earnest at the first of the year with a major advertising campaign throughout Texas, Albuquerque, Oklahoma, parts of Kansas. You have a presentation on it. The highlights of it, since we've started, we have had 8,600,000 impressions through our advertising. It's digital advertising, it's television, it's Facebook, it's social. Our web visits this month were 29,196, up 776% from last year. Our total bookings through our website, reservations that have come through, 2,979 bookings off of that ad campaign. Social engagement, we have an amazing percentage increase in engagement, likes, followings, shares, and so forth. 1,817% up. So basically, we were starting at zero with a lot of these campaigns, but we're getting up on the step very rapidly. We're starting to see bookings come in. We know which pages they're going to on our website now. We're learning more about which ads are working. We're making adjustments on those programs. We're running some ads in terms of airline support. I've removed Austin from that. We weren't doing well in Austin, but we're doing very well in Dallas and Albuquerque. So we heavied up there. And that was in support of the advanced air flight. So the advertising performance is very good. Happy with it over that first month. We'll keep pushing and we'll keep growing. I've been very busy for the last 3 weeks with the New Mexico Tourism Department, Hospitality Department, and other people that we need to work with here for grants and other subsidy programs. 3 weeks ago, we had New Mexico Ski Media Day at Santa Fe. Good opportunity to ski with the meteorologists and all intelligent people from from Albuquerque Market. Last week, we had Tourism Day at the Legislature. I've never done it before, but I was pretty proud walking around in the roundhouse down in Santa Fe. Angel Fire had a group of 6 people from this village that were there. Police chief, fire chief, clerk, manager, mayor, all going around getting face time with the people that control the purse strings in the state. There's a reason that we're getting momentum because we're building relationships with these people. It's worked very well. Yesterday, I was at a conference for the Hospitality Association, then at a big legislative reception. And the tourism director for the state of New Mexico, it seems that Angel Fire is their favorite child right now, because in his keynote address, he mentioned Angel Fire 5 times, didn't mention another community. So we're getting some good take from the other offices in the states. Specifically, I've been trying to make contacts for funding programs, grants. We have a bunch that are opening up that I'll be working with Rocky on. We have a tourism event growth and sustainability. This is for event support, $5,000 as an accelerator program to get a new event started, $10,000 in marketing funds, $50,000 for full event sponsorships. We'll be applying at all those levels for our event support. We've got a destination forward grant that's put out by the tourism department that is for infrastructure to help cover projects like this. And they have $2.8 million in the state budget for this year. So we'll be working hard to get $2.8 million out of that budget for us. Then we have the Clean and Beautiful grant. Julie's worked on this for years. We've done that for a long time for cleanup days and other things in the community. We can look at things like water bottle refill stations for those kind of things and other types of opportunities. Also, another grant source is Outdoor New Mexico. They have grants for trails and parks and also these kind of projects. And then the last funding partner I found was the Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resource Department, the Land and Water Conservation Fund. They have money available to help us with our infrastructure projects too for recreation purposes. So those are great partners that we're going to develop. Gonna be working hard with Rocky over the next few months. Most of these programs open up in March. Events. I'd like to invite everybody up to the resort this weekend. The shovel races are back. They started ice carvings today behind winter sports. They're pretty cool. If nothing else, go check out the ice carvings. Next thing, visitor center traffic is picking up. We're not doing a lot of visitors, but we're getting about 10 or 12 a day. It's better from the 4 we were getting a month ago. So we're seeing something there. We have 6 podcasts that we produce now with over 350 downloads. We have 35 downloads on our latest podcast that was on workforce housing. There's some good informative things about village happenings that you can listen to there. We're also producing a column for a tourism column for the Enchanted Circle News, a local newspaper. You'll see a tourism column in there. So we're trying to not only promote and draw visitors to our valley, but inform the people in our valley what we're doing. So we can welcome those visitors in a friendly manner. Anybody have any questions for me?
Great job, Greg.
All right, see ya.
Moving on to Parks and Rec, Director Shay Tibbetts.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Clerk. I'll start off with, this community center has been closed. Excuse me, if anyone didn't know that. We've had some heating issues and now frozen pipes, as a result of these heating issues. That started back in, I don't know, when we first turned the boilers on, probably end of October, November. We've had people coming out, looking at it, servicing them, doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then slowly it just kept room by room failing, it seemed. Had somebody come out, TLC is the company we've been using, and they had come out several times and supposedly fixed it, said the boiler's fine. I told them I know the boiler was fine. It turned out that the radiant heat doesn't appear to be working. The manifolds and everything, actually, my husband and I looked at it and we saw that those seemed to be the issue. TLC came out another time, the whole HVAC system up above. That has never been working properly, which I pretty much always knew because we've never, that's a whole heating system up there evidently that's never really been turned on. And when they got up there, they found that through the years, evidently before I got there, which has been 15 years, because I've never turned those things on, someone just kept closing it down. So it wouldn't work anymore because they think that the whole heating system was kind of failing for a long time. So the whole building, I found it has been running on the radiant floor heat. Well, now that's not working. And for some reason, the boiler stopped working over President's Day weekend. So when I went in on, well, I actually went on, or was it President's Day? Is that the
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King Day, yes, thank you. When I went in on that day, everything was frozen, you know, due to the extreme temperatures that we have. It just got worse and worse. Before that, the building was at least able to stay up at about 40 to 43 degrees, and we just were dealing with that. Then after that, it was just frozen, and then with the extreme temperatures. So with that being said, they couldn't, we had a pipe. It didn't burst, in the Angel Room, which is the room right off of the, rotunda. We had a leak happen a few weeks ago in that. It came apart at the elbow. I'm being told it was due to freezing. I don't know if that's the case, but I have the pipe. It came apart. It wasn't, yeah, I don't know the outcome of that. Have a claim filed for that so far. And then, as some of the pipes started thawing, we had one burst in the bathroom. We found where that is. It didn't do a lot of damage, but we mopped it all up and everything. I don't know about inside damage. Also let the insurance company know about that. And in the meantime, TLC, we pretty much had to shut all the water off because every time we would go to thaw something and try to fix it and get the boiler back on and this and that, we were afraid a pipe was gonna burst and everything. So the best thing to do is the water's been shut off now. And now we're having a couple other plumbers come in to take a look and see what they think. And that's where we're at with that. Because according to TLC, we need a whole new boiler, which it isn't the original boiler from 1998. It's never fully failed. It's been serviced. We've had to deal with a little bit of issues with it before, but that probably could be the case to get everything running the way it's supposed to be. So that's where we're at with that.
Can I speak to that real quick? I just got a question. It's my understanding that the village has a contract with TLC to come inspect the boilers. Is it annually?
It's every 6 months.
Every 6 months?
And they had just come out, I believe it was in October.
And when did you first start experiencing the issues?
Well, in October because I turned them off and then when I turned them back on, so I think I turned them on in October. They had come out and maintenance them. I don't recall if there was any issues with that at the
They
time.
didn't express that there was gonna be a
No.
problem. Or that we needed a new boiler
No.
at that time.
Not at that time, but then it just started we started having issues. We started noticing things that were kind of cold. I heard in the wall in the gym. I also heard like water. And actually I had Kurt come and listen to it one time and yeah, he was like, that's out of my, so. So, wasn't really sure nothing ever leaked or anything. I just knew, I was like, well, something's weird. It turns out that's where some of the manifolds are for the radiant floor heat to the gym. Because in the boiler room, there's only 3. The kitchen, the Zia room, and the equipment room, I think. And so we were like, well, where are the rest? Well, they were hidden behind some of the equipment in there, and those had totally failed. We were able to tell on that. With TLC and not only TLC, but all the other companies that I had come out and service them, all they ever do is service the boiler because I've never ever had one person ask me about those. Because that's the first time where I was like, oh,
You're
look,
talking about the forced air system?
any
Or
of
the
that, the first air,
manifolds?
the manifolds, or the first forced air system. TLC is the first people to go up there. But they didn't look at all the manifolds because I didn't ever show them where they were. So, Yeah, and that's the whole part of the heating system, so it's a little. I don't know, it's a little strange that, to me, that should have all been looked at, because it's a part of the loop for the heating system, so. So that, yeah, that's where we're at with that, I'm hoping to, let people come in without using the restrooms, and, they know it's cold. It was cold before. It was like 40 degrees, you know, but like the pickleball people and the volleyball people, everybody's like really anxious to get in there. So, my staff and I, we don't mind. We'll just let them know, come in and play. You're gonna get cold. Don't use the toilets, and, open it at least for that.
So right now, we don't have any idea when we'll. have-
Not until we hear back from, we had one plumber come out today, and I think he's gonna come out again. Is he coming out again on Thursday?
Yeah, JC&E.
Oh.
Okay. Mayor Lindsay, council. Clerk Strickland. Brett asked me to look into a plumber, so I had a friend of mine, a JC&E Plumbing out of Albuquerque. He's a certified HVAC plumber. Has 2 or 3 guys that work with him. One of the guys is connected in Taos and came by today to do an assessment on the situation. And he noticed that there was a brand new pump there, so that was going to be the bulk of the cost to repair this boiler system.
That's what TLC was supposed to repair, was the pumps and the lines, but they never got to it because everything froze.
Yeah. He did notice that the pump that is currently connected on the boiler was undersized. The one that is new there is more sufficient for the size of the building and the size of the boiler. He also noticed that the plumbing that feeds the radiant heat system had a lot of sludge in it. And it was an indication that they've never been cleaned. And that could have caused why some of the zones were going off here and there, because the water wasn't. He'd explained to me that the water pressure in the radiant heat is not very strong. It's not as high as it would be with your faucet in a bathroom. So he mentioned because of that, sludge can build up and they have to be cleaned out. So he's planning on coming out on the other 2 guys on Thursday or Friday to clean out the system, connect the pump, reconnect. You notice there was some extra copper piping in there that he could use to finish the plumbing in there. And because the pump was there, that's the biggest cost. They were gonna work on it. So that's kind of the status of that at this point.
So in the 6 months, every 6 months, the TLC comes out, they've never once
No, not, I mean,
filtered that system.
not that I'm aware of, because
I'd be curious to see the work, or like what they turn in as an invoice as to what they've done.
yeah, I have it all, so I'm gathering everything with that, but yes.
If you would, those lines likely have glycol antifreeze in them, and that is supposed to
We
be,
discussed that,
Jane.
but I was told that it didn't. This one is a water system.
Mm.
Because now I'm just what I've been told, because they're actually experiencing freezing in the slab. So if it was glycol, that wouldn't be the case, but they're saying that that's one of the issues now. We've actually froze the radiant heat pipes in the slab have frozen.
I asked the plumber that situation, like, you know, you fix the boiler, what are you gonna do about the frozen lines? He said because there isn't a lot of pressure in the radiant heat, that he would, after the boiler is repaired, he would go ahead and turn it on and monitor the pressure or whatever, there's pressure gauges in different zones. He would monitor that and let the hot water go through there and slowly, if there is any frozen line, there's a very low risk of them busting in there, in the ground.
Because it's in concrete.
Because it's in concrete, and so because I was concerned about that, but he said that would not be.
But is it water? Have we verified that it's water in the system and not glycol?
I have not confirmed that.
That was a question I learned some confirmation on, because that's, in my experience, it's usually glycol.
Glycol.
yeah,
And if it is water, you may want to replace it.
you don't, yeah. Can the forced air system not be brought on as an auxiliary?
Well, that's what TLC did do, is they brought that on. They didn't even start to work on the radiant floor heat or anything, because they wanted to get that going first. And then they were gonna bring in the new pumps and deal with all of that. They did get it going enough, but just to keep the building at 40 to 43, it didn't get below 40, so I mean, that was good. We didn't have it, it was just cold. And then it didn't do more than that. They were hoping it would do more than that, but it did not with the upper part go above. It got up to maybe 45.
And then it ultimately failed again.
That didn't fail. The boiler stopped working. The boiler would stop working and then they set a part on the boiler. Cause I said, well, why did the boiler stop working now? The boiler was never the issue. And the guy that was out there showed me a little switch that he said got tripped up. Why, I don't know. He said
So
it
is
just
the
broke.
forced air system currently working at 40 degrees?
No, the building got down below 40.
Well, that's what I mean, so I think it must have failed in some.
That it must have too. They said because the boiler failed, everything failed. So, yeah, I don't think that upper part.
And I don't expect you to understand,
No.
and I don't either, I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, I am too.
The
That's
timeline, what's
why.
going on there. I've been
I was
hearing
very
bits and pieces
curious
of it.
with all of it, and that's why we started looking around with Rob, my husband. We were looking
I
around trying to,
appreciate Rob doing that.
yeah.
So at this time, we don't have any update as to what the assessment is or when we can expect to have heat back on.
No, not until we hear from the other plumbers. With TLC, it was pretty much the building, we have to wait till the building kind of thaws because we're just worried about pipes breaking. And if we turn it on and then more pipes break, they felt like they'd be spinning their wheels. I explained to them that the building isn't gonna just thaw at this time of the year. I'm like, that's not what happens. I have space heaters in the boiler room now. The boiler room's warm. I can't imagine that anything's frozen in the boiler room right now. I have space heaters around the bathroom, the sinks, and some water was coming out of that. The kitchen was pretty frozen solid. But I saw it dripping, and I haven't seen any more floods or any burst pipes from what we have in there, but we haven't turned the water back on yet. So I don't know when the right time to do that is. It's been warmer now. I mean, we could give it a shot but it's been off for now, but there's been no other damage or anything. And we've had the space heaters constantly in the boiler room. So those pipes they can't be frozen anymore. We didn't have any burst in there or anything, so.
Deal with this, and it's always in the middle of winter.
Oh, I know. Well, that's what we were trying to avoid when we were having the issues and kept having them come out.
Well, that's to me why we have have a look at it every 6 months, and
Mhm.
have two systems that neither one are working is frustrating.
And I kept saying, we're gonna get really cold here. And yeah, so that's where we're at with that. The west side of the building, Dennis Engineering is going to be doing plans to reconstruct a way to attach it to the building. Just waiting on those plans.
So for those that don't know, there was a project put in motion, in 2023,
2020,
it was 2020.
yeah.
That started in 2024,
Yes,
and it's a good idea.
it was phase 3. Yeah, this was phase 3.
It
Yeah.
was a good idea to cover the back doors, the west facing doors of the community center. Which is what everybody uses to get large, anytime there's an event or anything, that's how you get things in and out of the community center. And when it snows,
snow,
the
yeah.
snow falls right in front of those doors and freezes, and it's very difficult to get in and out. So you cover that area. Between the previous engineer and the current contractor, that project has gone over budget by over $100,000. Some of that, we added, and we did add concrete to the project that wasn't originally specified. But beyond that, it's my personal, this is me speaking personally, I'm not an engineer. But it was over-engineered failure. And so we got a lot of money in that. And the first snow we had in November, when the snow came off of the community center roof and landed on this new roof, it started pulling the new structure down. The contractor acted quickly with chain boomers and straps to salvage it and then rectify it back into its space, but it's not attached to the current building in any way. And so we're having to have engineering then to do so, and quotes then to add it. So I just wanted to let everybody know what was going on with there, because it felt like that project was moving, and if you've noticed it just sitting there with straps and chains on it, that's why.
So Yep, that's where we are with that. And then for Allen Fields, Dennis Engineering is also working on plans for the Allen Fields. They met with the Recreation and Trails Committee and got their consensus on opinions on what they thought would be good placement of concessions and maintenance shed and excuse me, a couple pavilions. And then also there's gonna be parking lot improvements and stuff such, and I think they have everything that they need right now. And they're gonna be working on those and getting them to us here, hopefully soon, so we can get started in the spring or, you know, as close as we can to that time. And the other couple grants that are out there, we haven't heard anything on. The Trails Plus grant, we just submitted, haven't heard anything on that yet. And then the other grant was, I forget the name of that grant.
City Park Improvement Grant.
Yeah, City Parks Improvement Grant, and that one was for the Allen Fields, and we haven't, right, yeah, we
Yeah,
haven't
I
heard anything on
sent an
that.
email to Carmen and haven't heard anything back from her.
Okay. And other than that, that's all I got right now. Any questions?
Thank you.
No?
Shane.
Okay, thank you.
Up next, Public Works Director Kurt Epler.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, Clerk Strickland. Want to start off my update this evening with, to let you know that I'll be personally traveling to Albuquerque tomorrow to meet with our on-staff engineer, Captain Mahoney, the president of the company with Dennis Engineering, to discuss multiple projects in hopes that any information he might need, I can provide to him so he can move forward as quickly as possible. First and foremost, on the Allen Fields project, after the committee meeting, I coordinated a meeting with Kit Carson to go out and check for closest availability of three-phase power to get them kind of started based off of the conceptual drawing. And we did confirm that there is real good three-phase power capability or availability, I should say, as well as fiber optics up across Camino Grande. They, after the committee meeting, they had a series of questions that Shay was able to answer for them to give direction on some items that are probably more than likely going to be in like phase 3. The hope is obviously in our phase 1 to get moving as quickly as we can to get the lights up and running and the underground infrastructure. The other two projects I'm going to discuss with him that he has started engineering on, but we're hoping to get it started as quickly as possible, is the workforce housing. I'm going to try to get him, make sure he has all the information he needs on the 434 corridor project plans. And given the fact that we're asking him to start design off of a conceptual, I want to be able to convey to him that even though some elements within the conceptual might change, the vast majority of the civil is going to stay the same as far as alignment of road. And so this should allow him to proceed with the civil.
On that workforce housing development, the sewer and water line easement y'all will be running, is he gonna take? Because there's a lot of commercial land out in that area, is he gonna take into consideration development surrounding that to connect onto that line? For sizing?
Had the discussion with Santos now to understand the main that is along 434 right there that we're going to be tying into. It is an 8-inch main, so that would be essentially as large as we could go. An 8-inch main will accommodate a lot. Okay, with our footprint and our conceptual, a 6-inch will be plenty. But that discussion will need to be had if we want to, that initial stretch that's going into our property, if logic would say we would want it sized adequately, because there is currently a 6-inch tie-in in place from the northwest corner of the Zebediah's property. They're tied into it. And so there is a 6-inch up to that point. If we were going to upsize, it would mean installing a secondary line there. It's really not that long of a stretch, but it's a discussion that should be had. And I will be giving him a heads up that that could be an element that could come into play. The other thing is there is not an existing, large water tap right there. There's a 2-inch for the business and then there's two, 3/4 inch water taps. So that project will encompass a TN live tap, if you will, into the 8-inch water main along 434. Any more questions about the workforce housing? Okay. So make sure I get them all. I got a few that I need to talk to him about. The big thing that I need to talk with him about is, need to discuss with him about, we want to get an estimate to start, plan and design for areas that we want to upsize our water lines. We need to get plan and design in place, to seek dollars to accomplish these things. So initially what I'm going to ask him to attack is subdivisions Monteverdi 1 and 2, which are directly south of the country club. We're going to get water and sewer design in that area, and then water design in Monteverdi Lake 2, which is, as we know, one of the biggest subdivisions. Both of those zones, if you will, Monteverdi 1 and 2 and Monteverdi Lake 2 are some of our oldest infrastructure. The plan sets that I'm taking to him for Monteverdi Lake are 1973. And but it's also kind of the highest concentration of undersized lines. Even though we have undersized lines throughout the village, that seems to be the most highly concentrated area, and that's also some of our most densely built out areas. Okay. So the hope is that if we have plan and design in all 3 of these subdivisions, based on how much funding we can achieve, then within those 3 subdivisions, we can prioritize. I think the chances of us getting it all together to be able to do it all are pretty slim. It's pretty significant amount of work dollar wise and time wise.
And to accomplish the sewer down there, it currently stops about the Baptist church, right? The main sewer line?
No, actually, the end of sewer line, which we were designed to tie into, there's two tie-in points at that subdivision. One is St. Andrew's Way, just above the country club, which is part of the recent project. And then at the where Woodlands Drive intersects with Gulfview Terrace, I get them all mixed up. Anyway, the end of the pit, I guess it would be the south end of Woodland Drive. Okay. Which is probably the most probable tie-in point for the majority of that sewer. The sewer from there in turn goes down Woodland Drive to the lift station and then back up to Woodland and then flows down. So obviously, you know, where we want to expand the sewer from would be from existing endpoints. I'll be talking with him, and all the projects I want to discuss with him. I want to get an idea of how much time it's going to take him to get this design. Because what's really driving us on a lot of these projects is we really want to start turning dirt as soon as we can in the spring. Now, back to workforce housing, one of the elements of that is we're required to do an environmental study and a biological study. I don't see any reason why we can let that hold us up on design. Okay. The only thing that's keeping us from doing those right now is the time of year. But everything will be put in place for when conditions permit to get those done. I know there's another project I was supposed to bring up, forgive me.
Was it the CS Ranch Road?
Yes, did want to inform council that the final step in the project on CS Ranch Valley Road was to place the mulch on the geogrid on the slopes. I was not even close to satisfied with the result. I've spoke with the contractor and Dennis Engineering and informed them that it all needs to be taken off. It's a combination of The mulch has very large, pieces in it. There's some trash
Yes.
mixed in with it. And, it's way too deep. Even in the plans, it states that the mulch is supposed to go to within 1 inch of the top of the geogrid. It's thought that it would settle in and the hope all along is that vegetation would grow there. And, the application of the mulch that they put on is absolutely unacceptable. So we are not authorizing final payment. We're giving them opportunity to address it. And until it gets to the point where we have to address it, and then that'll be a whole nother story.
Yeah, they may need to even put some silt fence stages up just in case it rains between now and the time they get it out of there.
Absolutely. So anyway, that's, what's gonna be a big part of the visit with Dennis Engineering tomorrow. Anyway, next thing I want to update on, and I spoke about it in the work session, was the, dare I say, unprecedented number of frozen water services we experienced last week. Total service calls last week for water department were right around 70. 45 of these included meters that were frozen, and you know, we've had some very unique winter conditions without very much snow, big swings in temperature. Today was a good example of single digits in the morning and almost 50 in the afternoon. I think this has contributed to the frost layer. All these things can have contributed to the frost layer going deeper. But it was observed by our crews really early on that when the new meters were installed, some of the reinstallation wasn't done as it should be. Some of the meters were left too high in the can. Some insulation wasn't installed properly. The guys have addressed all 45 of these, and you know, we just got some more in today, and we'll continue to probably see some more. I have met with sustainability partners, and they have assured us that they will reimburse us for all of our costs. And I'd like to remind council that with the agreement with sustainability partners, they do service and maintain the meters as part of their agreement. So even moving forward, as we have problems, they will address it. Now, for obvious reasons, when we have a call, somebody has a frozen water line, we're not gonna wait for somebody else to have somebody else come up and fix it. We're gonna put our people into play and get service restored. Well, if there's anything that is good to come out of this situation, they're gonna know exactly what it's gonna cost them when something goes wrong. Okay, because we have multiple scenarios at different time levels to give them examples of what the costs are gonna be when there is an issue. We still have a great deal of confidence in the meters themselves. At 30 below zero and a meter sitting in the top foot of a can, nothing's gonna survive that.
How many uninstalled meters do they still have to do as part of their contract?
There's about 500.
And so do we have obviously you're gonna be giving them a bill for what they should have done the first time, but is there a QC step here we can give them for the remaining 500 so that the things you found, the lack of insulation, the improper depth, that we can document to make sure that those last 5 go in better?
Absolutely. And let me start off by saying, in hindsight, I made a wrong assumption that these people would be doing it right. Trust me, I've had a few sleepless nights thinking back of what I could have done different. And obviously, we don't have the manpower to go with 3 crews and look at every install. But you know what? I could have done some random checks early on. So I apologize to the community for that. I take full responsibility. Now, even prior to this situation, thinking back to that big snow event that we had in November, they were just starting the process of doing the full meter can replacements. And they did 12 of them. And at that time, the crew and myself identified some quality issues. They weren't too major, just we want things done a certain way. And you know, the weather shut them down from installing any more. But at that time, I made it clear to them that as we're moving forward with full meter can replacements, understanding they might be doing 2 to 4 a day, then for quality control, I'm basically gonna say nothing's backfilled till one of our personnel inspects it. So that will be my method moving forward on the full can replacements. I will add that when this situation occurred last week, put as many, staff members that I could make available from different departments, from maintenance department, from streets department, to go out and just start checking cans for any misinstallations, and they caught quite a few. But yes, in hindsight, definitely should have not had as much faith, and should have at least done random checks. Again, the sole person responsible for that. Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Director.
Last thing, just a quick update on roads. Again, I want to repeat, we've been experiencing some real odd ice flows out there. I'm sure most of you have been able to observe them, driven out throughout the community. Streets Department is doing a pretty good job of staying on top of them. For what it's worth, we've had, I can honestly say I've never seen anything like it. There was one ice spot where a significant bar ditch, ice dammed up and floated up the road, and then less than 24 hours that built up 12 to 18 inches across the road. So we're addressing that on a regular basis, but we're also using these nice afternoons to have motor graders out, whatever areas have good sun exposure, trying to keep the roads as smooth as we can. And we're looking forward to a really, hopefully a really good snowstorm in the next couple of days, and we'll be on top of it. The very last thing I want to assure you of, I won't go into detail, but we have been working with the airport staff and offering our assistance in any way we can. We have stationed one of our plow trucks out there to assist them. Had a Caterpillar mechanic come in today to do a little work on their loader to get it going. And we have already, one of the storms that we got, we were able to send street staff out after they had taken care of all of their rounds. And what had been taking the airport staff 6 hours to do, we did in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
And then the runway was cleared in 2 hours after that.
Yeah.
That's all it takes, a little sunshine.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to committee reports. Do we have anything?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Comprehensive Planning Committee met Thursday, had a very good meeting. We just didn't have enough time. We hope next meeting, we're going to be able to have more time to do a lot more work. A lot of information is coming in from the committees, which is good. It's just that the committees are at different places. Some were in place a lot sooner than some of the others. So it's going to take a little while to get all the data in that we want. I will say that the information that is coming in, some of the committee members are going through all of that. They're trying to get it into a format that will flow in a hodgepodge. And I will say that, not in here, that Santos has been doing a tremendous amount of work in research and connecting with contacts that he has and pulling some things together that will become a part of this plan. And I think it will make it a very good plan when it's finally put together.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to old business. Item A, I'd like to open discussion, request to proceed with the night sky ordinance. I believe this was, the proper term was tabled at the last council meeting, is that correct?
Motion to postpone. It was the last. Yes.
So we did have a robust discussion at the planning work session prior to this council meeting. So I don't know if anybody has anything to add from that discussion.
Approved.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember, Leona. Yes, to follow up on what the mayor said, we did have a a very, I think, productive discussion at the work session meeting held earlier this afternoon. And if my understanding is correct, our conclusion at that time was we do not have an ordinance ready to vote on it at this meeting. But what we thought would be the most productive going forward would be to increase our line of communication between the mayor, the council, and the committee to be more collaborative, but yet make sure we don't violate any Open Meetings Act. So we're going to formulate a method to have more exchange of ideas so that we can make progress better than what we have been in just kind of piecemealing things one at a time. And then in hearing some of the other committee reports and points of order of business, I would like that the Night Sky Committee not be working in a silo, because we have, it sounds like the Allen Field and Liberty Square and workforce housing are all major projects coming up, which would affect the night sky, because each one of these is going to incorporate a great deal of public outdoor lighting. So we would like to be able to have interchange with each of these committees so that it's a proactive step rather than reactive. So if we can get information on how to participate in some of these other committees.
So I think Ileana's doing a great job about posting agendas online. And I would just recommend that you or one of your committee members maybe make a point, maybe assign a committee member from your committee to attend one of these committee meetings. And I think that kind of collaboration would go a long way.
Right, and like I said, in that case, we'll be proactive instead of reactive when these other major projects are built. And then also in my research, especially with the lighting consultant companies, part of their services is also to work with villages and councils and such in formulating their ordinances. So if we want to consider bringing in professional consultants rather than just a volunteer citizens committee, that might be something that helps move things along as well. So that's all I have now.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we continue to postpone the request to proceed with the night sky ordinance.
Second.
Roll call vote on item A. Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Councillor Weeks,
Aye.
Councillor Humbert,
Aye.
and Councillor Crane.
Abstain.
Motion to postpone passed.
Okay, moving on to new business, I'd like to open discussion on item A, approved to proceed. Go bond ordinance series 25 space 1.20.25. Any discussion? I know we have Peter Franklin on the screen. If anybody has any additional questions, I apologize, Mr. Franklin. I don't have your title in front of me.
My title is me, Peter Franklin. I'm a bond lawyer with Modrell Sperling, and we've represented the Village of Angel Fire for many years. And if anyone would like for me to do so, I can provide about a 60-second summary of the ordinance, but I'm also happy to just stay quiet.
If you could if you could keep it to 60 seconds, that would be wonderful.
Sure. So this ordinance authorizes the issuance of $1.8 million in general obligation bonds. The 1.8 million is divided between two voter approved projects, 900,000 for road improvements and 900,000 for water and wastewater system improvements. The voters approved that at the last general municipal election, which I think was November 7th of 2023. The ordinance authorizes the sale of the bonds to the New Mexico Finance Authority pursuant to a bond purchase agreement. You should have sort of a preliminary form of that agreement with the ordinance. Because these are general obligation bonds, they are payable from ad valorem property taxes. And the ordinance authorizes the village to impose a property tax at the rate necessary to pay debt service on the bonds while they are outstanding. The ordinance provides that the village will use the proceeds for the governmental purposes for which the bonds were issued, namely the 2 voter-approved projects, and further that the village will refrain from taking actions that would jeopardize the tax-exempt status of the bonds. Because the Finance Authority is buying these bonds and will basically hold the project fund as the village draws funds out to pay for these projects. It's really the Finance Authority that's going to be making sure that the proceeds are invested in a way that complies with the federal tax regulatory requirements. I'm happy to answer questions. That's my summary. Hopefully I kept it within a minute.
Thank you, sir. So it's my understanding if we vote to approve to proceed, then that was the next step should be to schedule our public hearings to discuss this further.
And we don't have to pick a path for tonight. We can continue to discuss those at the upcoming public meetings.
Yeah, if we choose to go forward, we can weigh our options in the public hearings. There's no further discussion. I'd ask Mayor Pro Tem Howe to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve to proceed with GO Bond Ordinance Series 25, Base 1.20.25.
I'll second.
Roll call vote on item A. Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Counselor Weeks,
Aye.
Counselor Humbert,
Aye.
Counselor Crane.
Aye.
Pass.
Moving on to item B, I'll open discussion to approve resolution 2025-02, various budget adjustment requests. Again, our budget manager Weir couldn't be here this evening. He's not feeling well. But if you'd like to, if you haven't had an opportunity, I'll be happy to read them aloud. Whereas bar in the amount of $1,544.64, but $1,544.64 funds be moved from the budget to the airport employees benefits, equipment and services. Next is whereas bar in the amount of $73,250 funds be moved from the budget to the airport for electricity, propane and fuel. Whereas bar in the amount of $600 be pulled from the general admin for law enforcement logo and tire. Whereas bar in the amount of $14,000 for community center TLC pumps. So, yes, ma'am. Well, let me give you the correct numbers. And let me preface this with everything to do with the airport, because we just took control of the airport. We are now the official managers of Colfax County Airport. We did not have anything in the budget when we created the budget and passed it back in June for the airport. Therefore, we're having to do these adjustments as far as the airport is concerned. So let me start over. The amount is actually $154,464. Those are the funds to be moved from the budget to the airport for employees, benefits, equipment, and services. The next one, the amount of $73,250 be moved to the airport for electricity, propane, and fuel. The next one for the airport, $600 to be pulled for general admin for village logo attire. Moving on, a bar in the amount of $14,000 for the community center. This is for TLC pumps, as Shay mentioned earlier, the pumps have been replaced. That was an emergency, obviously. The next one is a bar in the amount of $2,468.98. Funds for computer for the new P&Z employee. We're bringing on a new P&Z employee. He's scheduled to start in April. Whereas bar in the amount of $1,500. Funds for MVD clerk travel and training. Let's get our MVD up and going again. Bar in the amount of $500,000 These are funds from carryover cash to fund special events and advertising. This is obviously a lodger's tax expenditure.
You said 500,000, but this is 50,000.
That's what Ileana
Oh, okay.
gave me the new, because we were off by 100 on, or over 100,000 on the first one. This is 500,000. That's all, and yeah, I appreciate you giving me the updated. The bar in the amount of $820,000, $820,600 GO bonds principal and interest that was not originally budgeted for. So that we resolve that the governing body of the Village of Angel Fire hereby adopts resolution 2025-02, transfer of bar budget adjustment request totaling $1,566,882.98. Any other discussion? If there's no other questions or discussion, I'd ask Mayor Pro Tem how to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2025-02, various bars budget adjustment request.
Second.
Roll call vote on item B. Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Counselor Weeks,
Aye.
Counselor Humbert,
Aye.
and Counselor Crane.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Moving on to item C, open discussion to approve fiscal year 25 first and second quarter expenses. And I apologize. I wasn't prepared to present these, but I'll do my best. I can't thank Ileana enough for including her yellow paper.
Yeah.
I do like it.
We have a staff recommendation. I apologize, I'm not finding it here.
This is the one that says beginning cash July.
I've got that, it's out there, well, I said it. I think the same one. That is, no. I did briefly review this previous, anybody has anything to add? It looks like all of our funds are still well in the surplus. Without going through each one of them, I don't see anything even close to a negative or any cause for concern. So if there's any other questions or discussion from the council, I'd ask them to approach them now, make a motion.
I make a motion to approve fiscal year 25 first and second quarter expenses.
Second.
Roll call vote on item C. Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Counselor Weeks.
Aye.
Counselor Humbert,
Aye.
and Counselor Crane.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay, moving on to item D, discussion action approval of resolution amendments on the EECG partnership agreement. Discussion for that.
Mr. Mayor, if I can say, this is something that I started years ago with the governments around the Enchanted Circle. And the primary purpose of this is to add some additional members.
Understood. So the members currently involved. I believe, well, Mr. Howe, do you mind speaking to it? I believe I know the ones currently involved and what are we looking to add?
Okay, we have Taos County involved. We're going to add Colfax County. We have Town of Taos, Town of Red River, Village of Taos Ski Valley, Village of Cuesta, Village of Eagle Nest, the village of Angel Fire. And we're also gonna add, it's recommended Taos Pueblo.
So currently we'd be adding, in addition to everyone named, that the additions are Colfax County and Taos Pueblo.
Yes.
Any questions?
Can we clarify what ECOG is?
Well, Chuck, go ahead. I gotta hear it.
This is the Enchanted Circle Council of Governments. It was formed a number of years ago because several of our governors said that they'd be willing to fund regional projects over individual projects. So we were looking at this as a way to get more money into the Enchanted Circle and cooperate with all the entities.
Okay, if there's no further questions or discussion, Mayor Pro Tem Howe, if you would make a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution amendments on EECOG partnership agreement.
I'll second.
Roll call vote on item D. Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Counselor Weeks,
Aye.
Counselor Humbert,
Aye.
and Counselor Crane.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Moving on to item E, discussion action, approved workforce housing budget for the fiscal year 24-25. Counselor Crane, I don't know if I could ask you to.
Yeah, so my apologies. I had gone through this budget with Manager Weir last week. It's not actually in my packet here. Thank you, yes. So I had gone through this budget with Manager Weir because this fund now is going to have a lot of money going in and out of it. This is where grant monies will come. This is where expenses, as we're spending money on the workforce housing project. This is also where some of the other changes this body has taken. If we'll recall, permitting fees were increased recently for new builds, and some portion of those monies are set aside for the furtherance of workforce housing projects. So all of those funds are now flowing into a dedicated workforce housing fund. And when you create a fund, you've got to have an initial budget. And so that's what this is. We have not received all of the grant monies. They are currently listed on here as the 2.4. That is still ongoing, actually getting the funds here. But essentially, we needed a place to park and start spending these monies for this project. Appreciate it.
In essence, we really didn't have this money to budget for.
Correct.
When we created the budget.
Correct. This budget was, the workforce housing budget was going to be much, much smaller before the grant monies have now come in, and we're spending in excess of $2 million. So we've got to have a fund and a budget to track all that through. In addition to, like I said, the other things that council has approved that need to have a collection point. That's what this is.
And Mr. Mayor, additionally, once council approved both this and the airport, finance had to set up a chart of accounts
Right.
to account for each of these.
Yes, sir. Any questions or discussion? I'll ask Mayor Pro Tem how to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve the workforce housing budget for fiscal year 24-25.
I'll second.
Roll call vote on item E. Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Counselor Weeks,
Aye.
Counselor Humbert,
Aye.
and Counselor Crane.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Gonna move on to item F. I'd like to open discussion. The approval of Dennis Engineering Work Order 2024-05 amendment to provide civil engineering services for workforce housing project. Mr. Lara.
Mayor Lindsay, Council, Clerk Strickland. What you have in front of you is an amendment to a contract with Dennis Engineering to provide engineering services for the infrastructure needs for the workforce housing project. The current contract with Dennis Engineering is specifically to complete the environmental analysis, which we've been talking about, along with that, a biological report on the plant life and the animal life that's on the property as required by HUD. So this stuff is, these environmental analysis is required by HUD and is required before we can break ground on the property. The contract amendment is going to provide the village with a design phase of engineering services to include construction drawings, for the site grading, site water and wastewater utilities, and access for development of the 4.25 acres for approximately 30 housing units. Now that we have an approved budget, I'm requesting council to approve of this contract amendment with Dennison Engineering in the amount of $72,000. And I'll stand for questions.
The only question or comment is, I believe we have confirmed that we are able to spend grant monies and be reimbursed for.
Yes, we have.
So we will be taking these monies out of the fund, even though the grant monies are not there. When the grant monies arrive, we'll backfill.
Yes, so you notice there was $200,000 budgeted for contractual services in the budget. This 72,000 and the 24,000 for the environmental analysis would be part of that budget line item.
Mayor Pro Tem,
I make a motion for approval of Dennis Engineering Work Order 2024-05 amendment to provide civil engineering services for workforce housing project.
I'll second.
Roll call vote on item F. Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Counselor Weeks.
Aye.
Counselor Humbert
Aye.
and Counselor Crane.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
thank you. Moving on to item G, open discussion to approval of task order 2025-06. Country Club Resurface Construction Phase Services. Julie.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, and Madam Clerk. Before you have a task order for Dennis Engineering to do the construction phase services. Plan design is done. This is our next phase. They will handle testing. They will handle RFP process. Although we are looking at a statewide purchasing agreement with GM Emulsions to handle the paving, but we haven't had an agreement yet. So I ask that you approve this task order so we can proceed. Stand for any questions?
Questions or comments? Not, I'd ask Mayor Pro Tem Howe to make a motion.
I make a motion for approval of task order 2025-06 Country Club Resurfacing Construction Phase Services.
Second.
Roll call vote on item G. Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Counselor Weeks.
Aye.
Counselor Humbert
Aye.
and Counselor Crane.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Item H. Open discussion to approve the request to proceed with defensible space ordinance. Chief Vance.
Dear members of the council, Village Clerk Strickland, thanks for having us up. We are requesting approval for a defensible space ordinance, a little bit of history behind it. I was hired in July of 2024. I understand that the Fire Adaptive Community Committee has been meeting for a number of years regarding this. After assessing that committee and trying to get my bearings about what the needs of that committee were, we developed this plan that you have in front of you, the defensible space ordinance. We decided that we would probably get more traction if we were to take a phased approach to this. So phase one that you have in front of you is aimed directly at improved and developed lots, meaning lots with houses on them. Due to the challenges recently with constituents' ability to get homeowners insurance on their properties, we hope that this will serve that dual purpose of making it a little bit safer around people's homes, as well as improved people's ability to get homeowners insurance. So we came up with this policy that you have in front of you. Part of the process, some of the questions that we've been asked in the past is how will this process take place? It's going to be basically a two-step process. Members will fill out an application online and be contacted by someone from the fire department. We'll go to an individual's home, do an assessment based off of all of our language that we have, and all of the checklists that we have in our assessments will be based off of NFPA language and backed up by language that has been vetted before in other documents. Once we do that assessment,
we'll make some recommendations to the homeowner. And when that homeowner calls us back to do a follow-up assessment, we will either issue a certificate or not award a certificate to that homeowner so that they can take to their insurance company and provide that for them in the hopes of getting insurance. We've also made improvements and modifications to the way that we take in slash to be able to handle the increase in slash that this will address, and I think that was a big concern. Sorry about that, just let a little brain lapse. It happens. Captain Romo and the team have done a really good job at addressing the backlog of slash that we've had in the slash pit over what I understand about 20 years of pit of pile up. And they're nearly complete in getting that all reduced. Also wanted to give a couple acknowledgements. The Fire Adaptive Community Committee, I think, did most of the legwork. They made my job easier in putting together most of this conversation and framing it in a way that was palatable. We did have help from Brian Lindsay, Mary Stuber, the district forester in Cimarron, Rick Smith, the Cimarron watershed grant awardee, Lindsay Reed, our new fire ambassador, and I guess, and Captain Romo and the slash team as well. I'll stand for any questions.
I have just a couple for the record. So my understanding kind of behind the scenes, we're not sure on this yet, but we think this could give us a framework to get onto a Firewise path. Obviously, the biggest concern we have with any ordinance that is kind of all encompassing or comes from somewhere else is if it includes fire hydrants, we know we have issues as we've brought up several times tonight that we need to get about the business of addressing, but we don't want to wait until those are all tackled before we get there. So I think in our discussions, you believe that this is a pretty good framework that could launch us into eventually, you know, calling this Firewise, becoming a Firewise community and the things that entails. Is that a fair assessment at this point?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a hot button word that I've been avoiding for a long time.
For sure.
Because I heard
For
that
sure.
was maybe a sticking point in the past for the Village of Angel Fire. Just the word Firewise has a lot of implications. But we've vetted it through. Captain Romo has a great Firewise background as well as Mary Stuber. We had to have something in place. We had to have a defensible space ordinance in place in order for us to even consider Firewise. We believe with the language that we have here would be fully supported by Mary Stuber. It would require an event, maybe a week-long event, to invite the district office up to the Village of Angel Fire and go around properties, show them how we're assessing that. And it's my general belief that if we have something in progress and we have something in place and we're making steps towards a Firewise community, that they fully support that. I don't have a great understanding of the Taos Pines area, but to address your concern about fire hydrants, they don't have fire hydrants in Taos Pines, yet they are nearly 80% compliant with Firewise, being a Firewise community. So I believe that it's achievable for us to be able to work towards those steps, and that's our intention to do so in the following phases after we get this passed.
And I fully support, obviously, one of the things in this document is an ordinance effect date of April 1, which for us to actually do, this still has to go through legal review process and public hearings and all the things. But I support the idea of we've got to get a defensible space ordinance to let our owners start to fight that battle. But I do agree with what the mayor said earlier. The next step for us is going to be creating some type of path to compliance for the undeveloped lots, the ones that choose to participate. This is going to be a decades-long process of accomplishing and getting to those high 80% compliance rates would be great. But given the amount of material in front of us, I support the idea. I would ask, however, that we start looking for some language that makes sense for undeveloped lots and considering whether that's going to go through the committee or what that process is going to look like. But I don't want to slow this ordinance down in furtherance of what will be certainly future revisions.
Thank you for those comments. In reference to timeline, it's taken us about 2 months to really put full focus on getting this defensible space ordinance to where it is from draft form to what you see before you. And we intend on putting the same amount of energy into getting something that makes sense for those undeveloped lots in the future, and hope to work with all the stakeholders in doing so.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Councilor Crane, Chief Vance, his staff, and the whole fire adaptive community for moving this to a point that took us years to get here.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much.
And I would definitely would just want to reiterate Jake's concerns to get the unimproved lots going as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think I'll address that. It's our approach and our vision of this to start from the inside out, work with lots with homes on them first. And try to get something in place as a foothold to be able to, building block to be able to build off of that. There are Cimarron watershed project that was just awarded. They're gonna be working from the outside village limits inward. We're gonna be working from the homes outward, and the language in between to move us on to phase 2 and phase 3 of this defensible space ordinance. We'll work to kind of work in the middle of those unaddressed lots. So I completely agree. We have a sense of urgency to be able to work on those unapproved lots as well and recognize the need for it.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor Pro Tem Howe.
Make a motion to approve a request to proceed with the defensible space ordinance.
I'll second.
Roll call vote on item H. Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Counselor Weeks,
Aye.
Counselor Humbert,
Aye.
and Counselor Crane.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay, finally on the agenda this evening, I'd like to open discussion on item I to approve new village IT contract with Posh Solutions beginning February 1st, 2025. Mr. Lyra.
Mayor Lindsay, Council, Clerk Strickland. What you have in front of you on this agenda item here is a new contract proposed with Bosch Solutions. This contract will replace the current contract that we have now with iTeam, who is our IT provider, starting on February 1st, 2025. As most of you have experienced and are aware, you know, the IT services that we have been receiving, the village has been receiving, has been less than acceptable from the IT. In a lot of areas. After interviewing several companies, I think you'd agree that providing IT services to Angelfire, we have concluded that Kosh has the best reputation to provide IT services, and they're also the IT provider for Newbid, who is the contractor that is actually doing our paperless system at the time. Our current contract costs with iTeam are approximately $12,000 per month. That's what we pay iTeam for their service. This new contract with Kosh will cost us approximately $13,000 per month. So I'm open to any questions, but I am requesting the council to approve moving in this new contract with Kosh.
So I know we needed to replace the IT. How did you come to determine that Kosh would be the best solution?
We interviewed about 3 or 4 vendors, and Kosh, one of the things we really liked about Kosh was that you don't really select them, they select you. They determine whether they can provide the service, so they had several meetings looking at our server area, our room there, all the connections, talking to us about all the software that are supported by iTeam, making sure that they could provide us support. One of the differences with Kosh, iTeam sends somebody to the village twice a month. Kosh, in this particular contract, is not sending them at all. They will on request, but they aren't making a standard date once, twice a month to be here. They have convinced us that their online services are over and beyond. They're proposing a system called Windows 365. Windows 365 will allow that online, that remote connectivity to be even more effective than we currently have. They've been very successful. I've contacted 3 or 4 of their customers to ask them what their service is like, and they've all had great reviews. I've asked them specifically about their online support because, you know, they're not gonna make scheduled visits here to the village. And they mentioned that they hardly ever have to call Kosh in. Now, when we do call Kosh in, they do add a fee of $1,000 to come out here for the day and do that work. So beginning February 1st is not really gonna be the date that they're gonna take over complete support. There's gonna be a 30-day overlap with iTeam. So on February first, they will start working with IT because we'll still be contracted with IT. We're not gonna pay for that first month. That first month is just a month for them to get familiar with our environment, to coordinate and negotiate with IT, transfer over the services. And yeah, transfer the services over. March first will be the date when they will completely turn over service to them. But they've assured me that probably sometime in February, they will be able to start providing service to all of us at that time.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yes,
Okay, I assume there'll be a point of contact here in the village for those of us who need a little extra help.
yes, and we have talked about that. I'm not sure who that person's gonna be.
Clark Strickland.
Clerk Strickland is off the record. No, I'm just kidding. Take that off the record. Yeah, there's been some thoughts. I myself could actually be one of those contact people here. One of the things that happen a lot of time when your IT support person is working from a distance is sometimes there's just an easy thing that has to be done, but the end user just doesn't know how to do that. How do you reboot my system, or what do I do here? And so it's something that I can run, or we're even considering maybe Brandon at the tourism department. Him and I both could work together and, go and do that little reboot, do that one little thing that will help Kosh do that online work that they need to do. Because sometimes they won't be able to connect to that system, so, we'll have to do something. But I feel pretty confident in their work of, like I said, we talked to several of their clients and we've all got great reviews from all of them. Nothing really negative.
It's a 1-year contract.
Yes.
So I agree. I think that there's a path forward here to get some better service, but I am gonna ask you,
Yes.
how many of my devices are you gonna make me change in February? Because they're all working right now
They're all working
for the
right now.
moment.
The devices aren't changing.
Okay,
No, the devices aren't changing.
okay.
They have looked at what we have and they're perfectly able to support what we have. The only thing they're gonna be adding is a different, software for managing online, Office 365, which will help us all. What will change is when we get our new system from Newbit. And
You'll be back, is what you're saying, to change.
April will be
Yeah.
gone. No more yellow, anyway. It's a technological leap, the yellow paper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really.
You have to have it through, that was an amazing idea. Mayor Pro Tem, how
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yes,
Just-
ma'am.
Just for the record, this is done through a statewide pricing agreement.
Yeah, that's good, thank you.
I make a motion to approve a new village IT contract with Cost Solutions beginning February 1, 2025.
I'll second.
Roll call vote on item I. Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Counselor Weeks,
Aye.
Counselor Humbert,
Aye.
and Counselor Crane.
Aye.
Motion passed.
The manager's Weir's absent. That concludes
Thank you, guys.
tonight's meeting. This meeting is adjourned.